Welcome to the Workspace Admins Insights video series. We are a group of IT admins that have been using Google Workspace since it started in 2006 as Google Apps for your domain, except Dominic. He was only 10 years old. In this video, we're going to explain how to create a virtual machine in Google Cloud Console and set up GAM Advanced.
So I'm Steve Larson. I'm currently the CIO at Chaser and have been an IT admin for the last 10 years and working with Google very closely with their partner and currently now at Chaser.
And I'm Dominic Kugelmann. I'm the co-founder of 23 Consulting, a Google Cloud partner based out of Europe, and we recently launched into the US. I'm also the initiator of this small little group.
And I'm Brian Kim. I work as a service delivery manager for Strata Prime, based out of Google, or based out of Toronto, Canada. We're a Google partner as well.
And I am Kim Nilsson, a Google certified innovator and collaboration engineer, and work as an ICT educator with the responsibility for Lumos Workspace for Education domain, and I'm a consultant for almost all Swedish Google partners. Today, Dominic will share their screen and explain what they're doing.
Oh yes, we will work with GAM Advanced, and we set up GAM Advanced from scratch on a virtual machine. Why we're doing a virtual machine will become apparent over this session as well. And we do this on Google Cloud Platform because we need to have a Google Cloud Platform project anyway to be able to run GAM. And I will now start my presentation for my window, my nice little incognito tab. And so our first action today is to go to console.cloud.google.com.
And we need that to be larger, so we're gonna increase the zoom of that Chrome window.
I will probably decrease the size of the window. One of the most important things is always to have your security key and not use anything else as an app. I will reduce the size of this window, and this way it should automatically increase readability and size. And if that's still not doing the best job, does this work now?
Yep.
Good. Yeah, I have never used Cloud Platform on this Google account, so you will be greeted with your Cloud Platform service agreement, and because I am based in Germany, I will choose Germany. I will agree and continue from here. And then we are here on our primary page. And we see we have no organization here. Actually, we do have our organization here, but it's not primarily chosen. I don't have any projects in here, however, so we're really starting from scratch here today. This organization is always bound to your primary domain, and as a super admin, if you first create a domain and you don't heavily use Workspace, you should have admin rights on that domain too. But there may be reasons where you don't have admins here, especially in bigger organizations. However, so what we now need to do is we need to create a new project for our virtual machine to be running. And we call this project GAM Virtual Machine.
And one thing just to make note of here, yeah, I think Dominic, you're about to say that around the project IDs and the project names, project IDs being unique across all Google customers globally. So you may run into some project IDs that you may need to adjust. But you can manually edit the project ID. So, for example, Dominic, if you want to edit the project ID there, you could change it, but it does by default pull it from the project name that you type. So that's how you can adjust
And
that.
if you don't have a unique project name like this and go like this, it just picks up something like that for you as well. So yeah, there are some forbidden characters. You can also never start a project ID with numbers, for example, which is a thing that prohibits something like this in my organization, because you can't start with numbers. Yeah, the project ID is not changeable, but it's also, so it should be easy to use in a project that you use every single day. But if, and especially if you use it manually a lot. And then you choose the location, and we choose the parent organization. And I don't have permissions here, so I just create it without an organization, can't I? I can't. Ah, that's annoying, I guess. Which, this is a good thing to be noticed. Then in this case, we will need to go to access identity and management. And I will create a new role for Dominic.
Well, Dominic, you're actually in the, you want to actually just apply that permission to the group instead of applying it to an individual user there. So you actually already have permission in the group.
I
So
do.
we have a Google
I
group.
am part of this group. There's a Google group. This is also pulled out of Google Groups then.
You have to assign the project. Yeah, so you have to assign the ability to be able to create project for that group.
Yeah. You have to edit the existing role rather than create a new one, Dominic.
Oh, that's edit member. Oh, that's what this meant. Yeah. Project.
If you
so you want to be a resource. Yeah.
Yeah.
Project creator too.
So a whole bunch of rules. That's not helpful. Resource.
Resource manager, I believe.
Still not. Let's click. Do we have a organization?
There's actually a list. I'm going to pull up the list of the typical roles you want as an admin.
Organization policy administrator. Nope.
Yeah, I think there was a menu for IAM. So if you look in there.
You just scrolled past resource manager.
Oh, did I? So that's why I put in friends and family to be able to get me resource manager. What you may or may not want is a folder creator or a folder admin on that role too, because that's usually something that you can't do with the admin as well. And because we are only using this for demonstration purposes, we give us more broad resources and make it as an organization administrator. And save that, and maybe we can now create a new project in here.
Yeah, we're gonna actually, Dominic, you're gonna want to actually add a lot more permissions in there. Let me take you through that list. I'm just getting that full list of permissions that we need.
Yeah, we just need the project creator role for the organization node in order to be able to create a project for workspaceadmins.org. Yeah.
Do we need something else here?
Yeah, there will be a list. Let me get you a full list. Give me a moment to pull the list up. I'm just doing this in another screen. So we have there's probably about 5 or 6 different roles you tend to want to have as an admin by default, which includes some of the security center settings. But so we want to also add in there access context manager admin. It's another good one to have.
Yeah, billing account admin or
Billing account admin. Yep. Project billing manager, I think is, yep.
Project billing manager may be for a big organization something that you may not want for all admins, but may that give that to a group that's called GCP billing admin or something similar, and then put in your finance team, for example. Access approval, we have that.
We also want to do folder creator.
We have that. We have folder admin right now.
You do have folder admin? Okay, great. Perfect. That's the one we needed.
Do we need the billing account admin instead of the project billing admin, billing manager?
Oh yeah, billing account administrator. Yes, that's the higher permission. Yes.
Yeah, for now that makes sense for this demo instance, definitely. So I think that's all of the ones that we need, and if we need anything more, we may add them later. Now I should be able to create a new project. Browse workspaceadmins.org. There you go. This is what I wanted to show earlier. GAM, and then it just generates a number because it's not the first one called GAM. GAM virtual machine. So that's how you get started, or the issues that you may present when you get started. So now we have our project created.
And just to kind of a side note, most organizations would not have those initial lockdowns on security. So part of the initial steps that we took as an organization was to remove the ability for everyone in the company to create projects and for everyone to be a billing administrator. So that's why in our setup, we had to go in and explicitly add ourselves and give ourselves those permissions directly there.
Yeah. So now you're on your project's dashboard. You can see your project name, you see your project ID, and you see your unique project number, which are used for separate purposes than the project ID, but you usually interact with the project ID. Yeah, and then we can go in here, and it doesn't have, we can take it.
Those are tutorials, but yeah.
Yeah. If you want to have your console walk you through here, you can do that. What we will do now is go under compute, look for compute engine, and because we are going to use this more often over the course of this video series, we will pin it to the top and have it accessed more easily for us. And then we will go into VM instances. And because we don't have billing enabled, we gotta enable billing first. So we are doing that, and we create a billing account. We call it Google Workspace. What's our name? Admins. That's what I wanted.
Admins, yeah.
Video.
Yeah, it looks like we need to go back to the previous page to give ourselves the ability to create billing accounts, not just administer them.
You're right.
Yeah, so you can probably you open another tab, so you can just navigate there.
Yeah, I just copied it, so it doesn't really.
I get that, yeah. You want the billing account creator role?
Under billing.
I just checked mine, and I have 16 roles to my account. So.
How many of those are owner roles? There we go, GAM virtual machine. And you can sign up for the free trial, which we also gonna do. I will move that to Estonia. That's where my company is located. So, okay, cool. I do need to put in card details. That's unfortunate. That means I gotta. That means I gotta cut some stuff out of this video. Oh wait, I can
Just
you can stop sharing.
That makes it
Or
easier.
Yeah, or another option is if you already have created a billing account, you can assign a billing account user role to yourself or to the group, so you can use an existing billing account.
Yes. We just want to go through this list as anyone who starts from scratch goes through. 0525. That's why we do it this way. And then we start our free trial. This card would work. But this card does not want to work for me today. We gotta cut something anyway.
And Dominic, one thing you can do is if you select one of your billing accounts that's available to you, you'd be able to do that. I think we do have a billing account available on the Workspace Admins account.
Not that I know. Did you create one?
Well, I think you created one earlier on
No,
your
I didn't.
20. I think you created one earlier on your 22D account from your company.
No, I didn't. That was something that's not connected. So. No. Two-factor authentication on this card. I didn't share this account, but yeah, I will create. I will. That's. Where would I find this?
Dominic, if you look in your available billing accounts, you might have that available to you.
Okay.
If you go to create a project now, you should have a list of billing accounts that are available to you.
I'll check. Oh yeah, I think I remember something. Yeah, must have been a couple of days ago already. Go to project settings. Link a billing account. There you go. Yes, you're right. We did that in the past few days already, and nope, not the entire screen. I I only want to share a screen. So after you have your billing account set up, and I gotta have this, you should see a screen like this. This is
Yeah,
a cool
so
event.
good. So this intermission that we just had here is not going to happen to most people because they will not have this limitation or this restriction set on their domain. They will have all users will be able to create billing accounts and all users will be able to create projects.
Yeah, especially on unmanaged or accounts that are not specifically using GCP for primarily for work that they do in their business, I guess. So back to VM instances. Now that we have a billing account, we are able to go to compute engines and VM instances. And
wait for Google to turn on compute engines and spin up network resources. So what's happening here for the first time when you visit a GCP project and use compute engine for the first time is Google is actually deploying the infrastructure for your project and for your own instance here behind the scenes. So it's establishing the entire network, the private network that is being generated. It's provisioning the allocation, just the kind of the high level allocation of resources for your project in terms of what's available to you in the VM and compute engine instances. So it takes just a few minutes to set this up for the first time. Once this is set up for the organization and for the project, it's usually a lot quicker.
Yes, you can do a simple comparison. This is actually Google building your computer. They are grabbing the chassis, putting in the CPU and the motherboard, adding RAM, and setting up and actually booting up the OS, adding a firewall software, and installing the system that we're going to use in a few steps. So this is super much faster than in real life, but it still takes a short while to get it running.
Yeah, let's just reload this page. Maybe we already have it. There you go. Now we can create a VM instance, and we are creating from scratch. We will call it GAM instance. You can choose your region here, and I am a European, and I am not trusting the Americans farther than I can throw them. So I will choose something inside the EU. Let's go with Frankfurt. For the region, this zone is not really that specific. And then you can see on the right, you can see what it's going to cost you. And we do want to go to the first generation here, to the Skylake CPU platform, because that's going to be a lot cheaper if we go to the F1 Micro, which is actually free for the first instance per billing account is free for you. And the second one will cost you $5.40 about per month. So we're going with the Series N1 and the F1 Micro with a shared CPU, and that's usually good enough for what you want to use.
Going back to the always free, just mentioning again, the Google has an always free tier, which actually means you have to take into consideration where you put the VM. So if you pick the US regions, it's going to be 100% free.
Yeah.
There's a list of which places you can, where you can put your F1 Micro VM to make it $0.
I believe Iowa is usually the free one. There you go. Here it says 744 is free. Does it say that in? Yeah, in Frankfurt it doesn't say it, as you can see here. However, I still run it in Frankfurt because I am European.
Yeah, so
And then you
those
can
free
choose-
regions, those are the free regions are only available in the US. So it's Oregon, US West 1, US Central 1, and US East 1 is where you can run those free F1 micros.
Yeah, and then we choose a boot disk, we choose a public image, we are choosing Debian. That's one of the ones that I feel most comfortable in. And we will use the Debian GNU Linux 10 because I think Debian 9 is going end of life pretty soon, even on the long-term version. And your standard persistent disk with 10 gigabytes should also be free. So we're going to select that. We stay with the default service account and allow default access. And then we will create this instance. While this is being created and started, this should not take as long as this. I wanna go back and check in with the security settings. Where can I find the OS login page, Steve?
Yeah, so you want to look for those under security, and I believe you'll be looking under
Security.
actually, that's not context or apps. That you're looking at.
No, and
it's under IAM and admin. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Identity and organization. I think it'll be in there.
I'm blind.
At least that'll get us in the right area.
I'm blind. There you go. Access. IAM access.
Yours actually looks different. Okay. Yep.
Where? IAM first, or
organization policies is actually where it's at. It's under IAM and admin organizational policies.
So we choose the organization here.
Sorry, if
and
you go to the hamburger menu,
Hmm?
if you go to the
Yeah.
hamburger menu, and if you choose identity,
Identity or organization.
in organization, yeah,
And
that's
then
it. And you,
no, it's not there.
yeah, it's a little different. I'm seeing a different view on that. To me, you seem to have a different menu than I do, in my view, which is interesting. You'll be changing it.
Service accounts, identity platform. No, identity platform is for third-party users.
I can give you the link. So just change the URL. It's a pretty short URL. It's pretty easy to go to. So you're going to be going to, remove everything. Yep. You want to do im-admin /org policies /list. Org policies, one word. Yep.
List.
Yep.
It's it's moving around. That's what you get with Google. Yep. And then you do want to require OS login on your organization, and I can't change that. What you would do is create an edit dash and turn it on. What you can also do is you can set a flag on your project. Which
so if you want to.
Oh, you know why it's under admin and not under, okay, I see. Manage resources. Under manage resources, I can set a label. That label, and that's require OS login true, is it? Why is this?
The key, I believe, require OS login is dashes, separate with dashes.
Yeah, I think it
needs to be lowercase, all of it.
Oh. And that's true. That's how it is set up, is it? Steve?
I believe so. That looks right. I think that looks right, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've used enable-os-login before, but I think it may have been on a per VM basis. So it may be different for per project.
Enable-os -login seems actually more like it should be. This requires you to log into the VM using your identity and email address rather than a local user.
Dominic, it's actually enable -OS login, one word. So only one dash.
Damn it. Let's go back then, I guess. Manage resources, labels, machine, enable -OS login. Cool. And
There's no need to remove the label that was wrong.
no need to. I'm lazy right now. And now we are finally able to go into our GAM instance. And we can just use the browser window if we want. But if you want to use your local machine terminal, you can also copy the gcloud or SSH client list. If I go from the local client, I use the gcloud command, because that will also use and enforce my 2FA settings on that Google account. Now I will use the browser window though.
I just wanted to just make a mention of why you weren't able to set that organizational policy. And again, that kind of goes back to our IAM policies that we set on that group, GCP admins, Workspace admins. So that requires an organization policy administrator role. So now that, I've assigned that to Dominic, he could force that across all of the projects that created in the organization. Whereas what you saw us do there was create that policy specific to the project or specific to the instance only.
Yeah. So what's now happening here is that we are now in the ssh.googlecloud.google.com page. You actually can bookmark this to go back to this page quicker and faster. And I now need to authorize with my Google account and my 2FA key again. And then I will be in the machine.
And this is also what happens in the background if you use gcloud. This is what gcloud does by itself. And now we can look at it, but it's happening in the Chrome browser.
Yeah, gcloud is the software development kit for Google Cloud Platform. And it will, right now it will create the SSH keys and it will send this to here. And we are now on our machine, and it did not do OS login, but it still works. Text size largest. Welcome to this. I will, however, work from here now and pretend we are logged in with our primary account. If you enable OS login, as we will do on this afterwards, we have to check that why this didn't really work. You will have to reinstall GAM on that specific instance again, or move files over from one user's folder to the other user's folder.
Actually, there's a way to do that through custom attributes on a Google identity. If you change the POSIX value you have for your account, you can actually switch between those identities even with OS login. So it's a way to force you into a different identity on a GCP resource.
So, and now we are going into the GAM wiki. What we are using is GAM Advanced XTD3 by Tears, by Ross, who's also joining us on some of our sessions, especially our live sessions, to work with us on some training for you and for going into deeper settings. It is based on Python 3, so your machine should have Python 3 installed, which all Debian 10 VMs from Google definitely have. And it's based off JLee's GAM. That's an extension towards their efforts. But we're now in the wiki, and we are now going into the first time GAM installation, and click on this downloads page. And because we are on Linux and Google Cloud machine, we are using these commands, and we technically only have to copy this bash command. We are using it with L. We had a discussion about this earlier, if we use L or not L. I think that's an admin or an auto update install flag.
Yeah, so it depends if you are, I tend to use the -L flag on a new machine if I am going to copy in my existing JSON files with an existing project. In this case here, you run it without the L as if you're a brand new user, don't have a GCP project, haven't configured your auth consent screen. So that's what we'll go through in this kind of full install instances, just taking you through the full setup, creating a new GCP project.
Yeah.
You want to say no?
We are choosing no browser here because we are on an SSH machine, and we do have to copy and paste values rather than being able to use local hosts to automatically transfer these values back and forth.
I recommend always using no, because there's a risk of the system opening the wrong browser with the wrong login. So I always choose no here.
Yeah, that is true. Are you ready to set up a Google API project for this project? And we choose yes here, and we are following the GAM install prompts. This will create a second project. You can run this with an existing project, but we will come to this in a bit later video. Workspace admins.org. And this is what you are now being prompted. That created folders and caches and text files that are now being filled by copying and pasting this. We are again prompted by authorization policies, Steve.
Yeah, so this one here, if you look at the client ID listed, that's the client ID of GAM Advanced. So meaning that this is Ross's client ID that you're authorizing to do some of the automated tasks, including authorizing the APIs for GAM project creation, creating a project for GAM, and creating the service account for GAM as well.
Yep. So you triple click there. You triple click on the numbers. It'll make sure to copy the entire line.
Yeah, I have done that. I have copied the client ID here.
So yeah, head over to your admin console in your first tab there. You'll want to go to security.
To security.
Yeah, scroll down to the last one.
After I've logged in. Where is my password?
In your head, I think?
Nope, I never know my passwords. I always have them in one password because I have 800 passwords in one password.
Yeah, so while Dominic's retrieving his password, so the shortcut or the direct URL to go to this list is admin.google.com/ac/OWL, I believe, for OAuth whitelist.
That one works too.
And we'll want to manage our third-party app access on the right-hand side there. Yep.
So what we do have, what I go here quickly, what you've seen here, we restricting all APIs, which means we have to allow these APIs via OAuth client ID. and search and select and all of them. Select and we trust this. So yeah, we are all using an allow list for all our API client IDs to ensure we are safe and secure here. And these are speed bumps that you may not see in your specific configurations, but we set up everything to be as secure as we think is reasonable. So now we should be able to reload this page. I will copy this link again.
Yes, that's better.
And
Redo the
see
page.
if
Copy.
it works a minute later. There you go. Now I have to sign in again and trust this OAuth client ID and go back here, copy this, paste it, and go. And then it's creating the GAM project.
And as everybody noticed, that some of these windows will appear in your language. So Dominic had a few windows there with German.
Yeah, which is usually not my standard language, but because this account hasn't been configured to my likings yet, as a user account, the admin settings are configured to what we usually have. It's coming up as German. What happened there is basically logging in and authorizing there. It should look pretty useful or similar to what you do. Now it's enabled 24 APIs in this project. It created service accounts, and it gave you this project ID. And a service account project ID here as well with an account key. And it has some rights as well. And now we are following this link.
So go back and forth between the instructions and the page, because people should actually follow the instructions.
Yeah. It's pretty simple if you follow all of this. So we are choosing a desktop app, other or application. For the application type, I will always choose the desktop app here. And this list got longer over the past few months, actually. So this is important. I will call this just GAM. So as you have seen, I have chosen the desktop app. I called it GAM. I click the blue create button, and now I will get on the next page here. I will have to copy this client page. I go back here, I will paste it, press enter, then we go again here, copy this secret and paste this here. And the project was created. We have a client OAuth screen, and now we are able to authorize the management operations for us. Here, you usually are fine with the standard scopes that have been set. As a reseller, you want to also enable this reseller API. There is pops up API for some testing, but you really don't need that.
Yeah, in this place, I usually do select all and unselect the reseller, because sometimes there's a new API and I don't see it maybe. So I just do select all and then unselect 33 by writing 33. So do S, enter, and then 33.
Yeah, that's what I've done. And then we can continue here. If you have the reseller API authorized as well, like just fails on those reseller commands, it's not really a problem for you to have it enabled if you're not a reseller. Now we go to another long URL. And this one should send us, yeah, this one sends us in the admin console. So we choose our, oh no, this one doesn't send us. The next one will send us to, and here you see all these scopes that you have chosen will show up here as well. And all the, right, so this is one of the longest OAuth consent screens I ever use. Probably, no, it's the longest OAuth consent screen I ever use because it's basically all of them. So we copy the code again and paste the code here, go enter. And now what we're now doing is authorizing GAM to use the Google Workspace consent screen. I will use Steve at workspaceadmins.org. Even though Steve has admins, it usually should work anyway. And we will copy this URL, and this one will now send us into the admin console.
Yeah, and the list of all the fails is okay. It's supposed to say fail.
Yes, because we are now adding them here into this new and improved list. The name where we defined on the auth consent screen where we defined GAM. No, actually that's a different, GAM is the standard name for this one. It will show up here as well. So you know what you have authorized here, and you can customize this name if you have multiple admins that with multiple client IDs as well. So you can distinguish who has access there. And then we can go back here. We have done that, yes. We're trying it again. And now you can see it passes. It may not work on minute 1. It may just take a couple of minutes to be authorized. Now we have to copy this part, and because now GAM is installed, but we cannot use GAM. We can use GAM by copying this link and pasting here and info domain. This would work, but always using this full domain is not really useful. And we do have to blur something here. So we will set an alias. And you can do that by either choosing export. Using an export function, or by going into the bash config. It's bash dots.
Yeah, that's already done. The install script does that by itself, so you don't have to do that. So the instruction was to either restart the shell because it has pre-configured the files, or run the alias command.
Yeah, alias GAM is not yet shown, so we will just type in bash and open a new shell and try GAM again. And now it works. And now we can try and use GAM. GAM info user kin.
Anyone who's been doing this for years, who's been using GAM and the old GAM, there's so many of these steps, the install steps, have become so much easier than before. Less actual copy pasting yourself, and especially this part with fixing the alias. So people sitting on a Mac or a Windows machine, those steps are even done automatically. So you get your GAM into your path, so you can actually run GAM whenever you want, wherever you want.
Yeah. What you can see here now is names, superadmin status, enrolled for step-in verification. It's not enforced yet because we are running another video to show you around that. And some other, the unique ID and the domain's customer ID as well. The org unit path, so it's in /users, and the recovery email. And the standard test domain alias as well. That's a domain that you either have to disable or just ignore. But as every new account gets a domain like this set up. And finally, you see the groups and the licenses that are assigned. So a user on Google can have multiple licenses. In this case, we only have Workspace Enterprise Plus here, as well as, and then you can have licenses like Google Voice or Cloud Identity Plus Premium, Cloud Identity Premium, or other license types.
You can do GAM print licenses just to show that.
Yeah.
So this has been a complete install of GAM, jumping through quite a few hoops because we've set up very restricted use of the systems. So most of the problems you've seen will not occur on your domain because you will not have them so restricted.
Why is this printing empty lines here? Is this new behavior?
Yes, it should actually print other types of licenses and 0 for them, but it doesn't.
It doesn't do that for us today. Yeah,
Could be.
it's empty. It prints
could be
empty
an
lines
update.
for reasons I don't understand why. But
It could be a shell issue.
Yeah.
cool. Anything else to add, or are we finished with this?
You can do an alias just to show the content where you're at. So when GAM was installed, it created one .gam folder where it puts in some reference files and the configuration. You can show what that is, and we can open that. But it also created the actual GAM install inside the bin directory. So inside the bin directory is in a GAM Advanced XTD3 folder where the actual GAM is residing. That was a slash bin
without the
different.
slash.
Yep.
Oh,
That was a
yeah,
different
you're
one.
right. That's a slash
Local
bin.
bin.
You're right.
So, and inside that is the actual binary, and there's a license information, a README, and the GAM commands. But I do recommend using the wiki instead of reading through the GAM commands text. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And if you want to go over to the GAM config, just showing where it is and what kind of content it has.
Or actually, if you want to edit the config file. Yeah,
Yes,
CFG
that's what I
file.
want. So do a nano.
Yeah. So for everyone new to the command line, nano is the easiest text editor.
Well,
not the most.
it's let's just say it's one of the text editors.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Depends on
For everyone
define
new,
as
it's the
easy.
easiest, but it's not the most. It's not the one with the most functionality.
No,
It's
it's
the
not
one
the hard.
that Google uses for some of its training
Yes,
courses.
Yes, it is. It's not the hardest to use.
Yeah.
So
So
some of
you can
these
see
lines
here-
are relevant. And as you can see that they are default, and they have automatically added some references to Dominic because that's his user.
Yeah, so you have my cache directory here, you have the config directory here, and you have the customer ID here. That's my customer. That should be customized.
Not necessarily, because my customer always works.
Yes.
It's in the API. So what you do want is to make sure that the no browser setting is set to true. Even though we chose that during the setup, we want to make sure that it's actually set.
Still here. Yeah. It's consistent. Yeah. No update check should be also false, because except if you run a separate version just for multi you're running automation scripts where you may want to ensure that you not lose functionality or break your stuff using an update. And then you see where the files are for the OAuth text and the OAuth service accounts. And then we have your time zone that you can customize. I do prefer UTC. And
yeah, the easiest replacement instead of UTC is local. So that usually means it will be the same time zone as you are in. And I do recommend setting the todrive folder setting.
Oh, the folder, yeah.
Todrive parent.
todrive parent, there you go. I would not put that into root as well. I would put it into GAM. Yep. Files or GAM or something.
I just do GAM. It's easy, and then just make sure you have a folder in your My Drive that's exactly the same, called GAM. Capitalization matters. So if you do lowercase, then the folder needs to be lowercase.
And you shouldn't have a second folder in your My Drive root called GAM, even though in Google
only have one.
You should only have one.
Yeah.
And then you can customize the time format, timestamps, time zones, and the user. If you, for example, if your admin user that you use does not have access to Drive, or you don't want to edit your files with that user, you can choose a different user here as well. And that's basically all of that.
If you're non-English, then todrive locale might be interesting for you, because then it differs whether or not to use what type of delimiter it uses and other language relevant things. So there's a massive section about todrive settings in the wiki. It's worth reading about those and choosing which fits you the best.
Yeah. And to exit and save, we press Control or Command. No, Control X.
Control
always
X.
Control X.
And yes.
That's also on a Mac.
Always Control X.
Yes.
Make a choice if you want to save or not. And we want to save.
We will save. We press yes. If I can find my yes on my
Y. And you added the nice. Okay, yeah.
And then we have to press enter again to have the file name still the same. Yeah. And then we're back here.
Want to add a super cool setting? So go back in again. All the way at the bottom again. You activate the todrive timestamp settings, or at least one of them. So the todrive timestamp, true. That means every time you create and upload a file, it'll automatically give that file a unique file name with the date and time when it was created. Not necessarily you have to activate the other one called todrive sheet timestamp, but todrive timestamp you definitely want. That means you will never have two files that have the exact file name.
Yeah, I should really enable that because I have so many files that are called GAM user.
Yeah, same as well.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty new setting, actually, that was added because of Kim's request.
Yes. This is good. So this is a great setup using GAM Advanced, and most of the work that we had to put in were based on restrictions we had put on the domain. This will take 5 minutes for anyone who has not tied both arms behind their back. I think you have much more information coming out of this video than from what you will actually need to do on your domain. Does anyone have anything else to add, or are we wrapping this up?
I think that's a wrap.
Brilliant. So this was the setup video GAM from Google Workspace Admins Insights. Thank you.
Bye.